Hello friends, I'm C. Abdul Rafeq. I'm delighted to welcome you to this e-learning series organized by the Continuing Professional Education Committee of the ICAI. In this presentation, we will understand primarily how data analytics can be used for the purpose of assurance and compliance. This presentation has 4 parts. This is the first part of the presentation. This is the official disclaimer. Let's get started. This presentation, as I said, has 4 parts. In the first part, which is this one, we'll look at and understand what is the impact on account of the digital transformation. We are living in an era of digital transformation. There is a disruption everywhere caused by digital technologies. We'll understand what is the impact of digital transformation on enterprises and professionals. We'll also understand what is this data analytics all about. What are the impact on enterprises and professionals? In part 2 of the presentation, we will understand how can auditors use data analytics to demonstrate value. In the current era, where knowledge is the key differentiator, as knowledge workers, chartered accountants have to know how to harness their domain knowledge and add value to enterprises. And data analytics can play a major part in this. In the third part, we'll look at the top 20 functions of data analytics. We'll also explain and demonstrate 20 key functions of data analytics. In part 4, we will conclude by discussing how can auditors use data analytics for assurance and compliance services. We'll also look at how can auditors use data analytics to navigate and be prepared for the future. In this presentation agenda, we are looking at 2 broad concepts. What is this era of digital transformation? What is data analytics and what is its impact? There is digital everywhere and there is a tremendous transformation caused by digital technologies. There are new emerging models, in fact business models caused by the OYOs and the Amazons and the Flipkarts, where you find information system is completely digitized and enterprises with these information systems are able to service the customers. They say in the modern digital age, every company is a technology company and every business is a software business, because the software is the edifice which runs the business and the software is the one which helps you to provide service to the customer. So technology is the one which is the driving rapid transformation in diverse and dynamic ways. So we need to know how we can provide and aid our enterprises and clients to use software effectively to provide services to customers, because this is going to be the key differentiator. There is a high impact of the ever-changing technology on both enterprises and professionals, and we need to learn to harness the power of digital technology. CAs being knowledge workers, we have the domain knowledge and expertise. We need to update our competencies and skill sets in information technology so that we can add value and also remain relevant. The rapid digitization has resulted in transformation of most of the critical enterprise data, and the data has been transformed into digital form. So it becomes imperative that we learn to harness this power of technology, and this empowerment can happen by using data analytics. And this is what the crux of my presentation today, as to how you can harness the power of data using data analytics. You can use data analytics to provide traditional assurance services and compliance services, and you can also provide innovative IT-enabled services. If you look at enterprise in this digital age, enterprises earlier were using information technology for connecting business processes with automation, and the primary focus was on accounting information systems. If you look at the role of the auditors in information technology, primarily they connected automations to assurance, and they use information technology for providing some assurance and for analysis. Now, if you look at enterprises in the current digital age, information technology is used to connect and harness the power of various emerging business models. there are new business processes, and there are innovative delivery platforms and services. The objective is to provide online real-time automation so that we can provide services to the customers. In the current age, the competitor is only a click away. So enterprises look at using technology not only for compliance but also for innovative analysis so that they can provide services to customers. As auditors in this digital age, where we are driven to use technology to provide compliance services, it becomes important that we not only look at automation of information systems to perform assurance in compliance, but we also need to look at how we can harness this power of information technology to provide value delivery through various assurance services. Let's look at the impact of technology on auditors. There is a plethora of digital data. Most of the data available now is not available in a physical form in the form of records, registers, but it's available in a digital format. And this digital data gives rise to new risks, challenges, and it also provides immense opportunities. So there is an inherent risk of access as to who can access this information. You also need to ensure availability, because based on the availability, you can provide service to customers. You also need to ensure when the information is available, it's also properly secured. So there is a paradox of making the information available and also securing that information. And this has to be ensured to survive and thrive in this digital age. The good news is, when the data is in such abundance, there is a lack of information. Like they say, we are flooded with data, but we are starving for information. With human intelligence, as skilled professionals, we can harness the power of data using data analytics to become more relevant. We can help enterprises to mitigate risks and also implement the right level of controls and security. So the need of the hour is to be empowered with these new technology skills so that we can future-proof our career and be future-ready. So CAs must learn to chart their destinations in this new digital age by complementing their domain knowledge with the relevant technology skills. This is a knowledge age, and we are living in a knowledge economy. The knowledge age is shaping the knowledge economy. As knowledge workers, we need to harness the power of knowledge by riding on the technology wave. Earlier, businesses embedded technology. Now it's technology which embeds business. So unless we know how to ride the technology wave, we cannot remain relevant in the near future. As knowledge workers of the digital economy, it's important that we update our competencies and skill sets in tune with the rapidly changing digitally empowered business environment so that we can continue to provide the traditional assurance and compliance services. Not only that, we can play a very important pivotal role as evaluators of the digital data. In the case of digital data, it's not just verification of data. You also need to validate the data. You also need to verify the veracity of the data, which is available in an invisible form. To access and analyze this digital data, it's important that you know how to access this digital data using data analytics to harness the power of the data which is lying inside the information technology. So a working knowledge of data analytics can definitely empower chartered accountants to access and analyze this vast repository of the digital information which is available with most of the enterprises. Let's look at the changes which are happening and which are being pushed by the government and regulatory agencies. Recently, we have seen the impact and the role of technology in the case of GST compliances. The government and the regulatory agencies are having an immense push to digitization. You find most of the forms which are being filed as a part of the compliance process have now to be digitally filed, have to be e-filed. So it has become imperative for chartered accountants to use software. And we have learned how to use the software. And once we learn how to use the software, it becomes very, very easy to ensure compliance. But we have to take the initial time to learn how to use information technology to ensure compliances. But once we do it, it definitely pays in both the short and the long run. Technology is the edifice which facilitates the implementation of GST, not only for the governments, but also for the various stakeholders who must comply with the law. The biggest reform which has happened on account of the GST in terms of the compliance automation has made a rapid or drastic impact on both enterprises and the regulatory agencies and the taxpayers. Chartered accountants, as the intermediaries or the facilitators of compliance between enterprises and the regulatory agencies, have to play a pivotal role in understanding how to use information technology to ensure timely compliances. So there is a mandatory paradigm shift for all the stakeholders, including taxpayers and professionals, to use the power of technology to interface and interact with the GST network so that we can do timely compliances. We can also provide new services using information technology. So we should go beyond looking at only interpretation of the law to implementation and compliance services using technology, because technology is the backbone of GST implementation. For this, it's important we know how to use the right software for the purpose of ensuring compliances. You know that GSTN is both a business to business and a business to government data exchange. And the triangulation of the business records of the suppliers and the buyer with the GSTN is very, very critical. It is imperative to ensure automation or use automation. If you look at the linkage of technology and GST compliances, we know there is a need for reconciliation of the data of various stakeholders. For example, the sales which is filed by the seller has to be reconciled by the buyer for taking input credit. So the data uploaded by the seller has to be downloaded by the buyer and reconciled. And this is where chartered accountants have to know how to use information technology to do this reconciliation automatically. And this can save a lot of time and also provide value. And it can also be a revenue generating activity, because you can save time for the enterprise and also ensure compliance. For providing these services, the GST data which is available in the digital format, in the various technology formats or platforms, has to be accessed and analyzed using data analytics. In the modern era, it has become imperative that the enterprises need new strategic vision to thrive as a digital enterprise, because digital is the key differentiator. Now, can you look at this slide and tell me what do you see? Now, let's look at it again from a macro perspective. This is what you see. So what does it communicate? That seeing the big picture always helps in getting the comprehensive or a macro perspective. What enterprises require is for chartered accountants to have the big picture or the macro perspective, so that they can understand the enterprise not only from the perspective of compliance, but from the business perspective. So there are great emerging technologies. Technology keeps on changing. There is in fact, evolution or revolution of technology. And this technology also brings with it new and emerging risks. So we'll need to manage the benefits of technology with the risks, so that we are able to survive and thrive in this digital age. Most important in the case of information technology is not just management of information technology. In the earlier era, we could manage information technology through a department, and information technology was looked more like a box approach. So you buy some boxes, deploy these boxes, and they will take care of the business process. Now you need the senior management to be involved in considering the usage of information technology from a strategic perspective. And that's where the governance perspective becomes very important. And that's where chartered accountants with the macro perspective or the big picture approach can play a big role. They can understand the information technology and the information systems from a macro perspective in understanding how the information gets generated, how does it get processed, who can access this information, and how do you harness the power of information technology. There are emerging challenges and especially business challenges about technology. If you look at most of the Fortune 500 companies in the last 2 decades, there are many Fortune 500 companies which have gone because they could not adapt to change. What enterprises require is the need to adapt to change. So technology can be considered as the source of business challenges, or another perspective is to view technology as a solution for business challenges. Chartered accountants, being creative problem solvers, should understand how information systems works and how information systems can be made to work using technology and provide the right solutions to enterprises. And enterprises require creative problem solvers. This is where chartered accountants with their domain knowledge and expertise can play a very effective and important role. Now let's look at the second aspect. We know the impact of information technology. Now let's understand what is this tool which we can use, what is data analytics, and what is its impact. Data analytics, in a very simple way, is a collection of tools and techniques and best practices to access and analyze digital data. Most of you would be using data analytics in your own way. Data analytics empowers professionals to access and analyze 100% of the data. And if you look at the key point, the fundamental aspect of data analytics is that you can infer insights from information. What is the purpose of data analytics? Primarily, you should be able to process data and access the data for the purpose of inferring insights. The software can process the data into information, but it requires domain expertise and knowledge to be able to infer insights so that action can be taken for the enterprise, decisions can be taken by the enterprise. So if you have to look at the bottom line of data analytics, if you have to summarize in one sentence, data analytics is all about application of thought to data. Data analytics, as I said, can process data to information, but human intelligence with the domain expertise is required to develop actionable insight from this information. And that's where chartered accountants can play an important role. As I said earlier, we are living in an era of data abundance. Day after day, our world is filled with more and more data, and the pace of the growth of data is phenomenal and is accelerating day by day, week by week. And this makes it imperative that we learn the use of data analytics. Now, this one slide should be able to give you the complete perspective of why we need to use data analytics. We are flooded with data and information, and this is where data analytics can definitely help, because it can help you to isolate and get the right insight from that information. So what are the impact of data analytics? We already discussed this. As knowledge workers, we can convert this data into information and knowledge and make it applicable to the enterprise and use it as applicable to the enterprise. And as professionals, we have the knowledge and the domain expertise to harness this power of technology, and data analytics is a tool which helps us to do this. Let's look at data analytics from the definition perspective. So data analytics is defined as the science of examining raw and unprocessed data with the intention of drawing conclusions from the information thus derived. So it's a series of process techniques designed to take initial data and having sanitized the data, remove any irregular or distorting elements, and transforming it into a form appropriate for analysis so that the enterprise can take decisions. So primarily, the objective of data analytics is to facilitate decision making based on the data. It also can be said as the science of examining raw data with the purpose of drawing conclusions from that information. There are two types of professionals in the field of data analytics. The first one is the data scientist, where the focus is on use of various statistical techniques to data. They develop the intelligent applications which help users to draw inference from data, and not only data but also big data. The data analyst looks at drawing insight from data from a business perspective, and this is where CAs can play an important role. They have the domain expertise, the business domain expert who uses simple or easily available features. It could be MS Excel or application software or querying tools or utilities of various data analytics, primarily to access, analyze, and interrogate data. So if you look at the distinction between the data scientist and the data analyst, the data scientist looks at data from the perspective of the science, where the data analyst looks at the data from the perspective of the art as to how we can access and analyze this data for the purpose of drawing inference, for the purpose of enterprise benefit. So the data scientist is the one who develops the platform using the various functionalities. He uses the power of the technology, they use the memory of the technology to access, analyze, and provide insights or information based on processing massive amounts of data which is available. Where the data analyst is the one who runs the required queries on the data so that he can draw inference from the data based on real life situations and challenges. So if you see in the crux of data analytics, the science is all about harnessing the power of technology to achieve enterprise objectives. The art of data analytics is the practical application with the business perspective. And you'll find that CAs are more suitable to apply data analytics from a business perspective, and that's where you can call data chartered accountant as a data artist or as a data analyst who can use the data and paint the data based on the enterprise requirements to real life situations. So the most important aspect of what we've discovered as per data analytics is that we should be able to obtain insights. And the beauty is we can analyze large volumes of fast moving data from different data sources to gain insights. And this was never possible earlier. To summarize, it's not about the data that you have. Enterprises may have abundant amount of data, but it's about the data that you want. How you are able to weaponize this data and channelize its energy in the right direction. So what we need to know is how we can empower this data with the power of data analytics. So if you look at this chart or the graph, you find we are looking at data and we are applying an algorithm so that we can get actionable insights. And this summarizes the complete discussion I had in this presentation. Data analytics is all about the 3I, inferring, insights, from information. So the key thoughts to take away from this presentation is there is the impact of digital transformation. There is no going away from this, and this will continue to accelerate. Professionals, especially chartered accountants, with the right skill sets and the domain knowledge can be the key differentiators for providing value to enterprises. CAs with the domain knowledge and expertise can complement the data analytics skills to remain updated and relevant and provide value addition. So if you look at enterprises look at innovation. They want to become relevant by becoming innovative. So if you innovate, you exist. If you don't innovate, you become a relic. You belong to the olden era. So innovate or become irrelevant. As a professional is concerned, we need to learn, unlearn, and relearn. Like somebody said very clearly, you don't stop learning because you grow old because you stop learning. So data analytics is a platform which helps you to keep on learning new things. Now we are coming to the end of the first presentation. We have broadly discussed what is the era of digital transformation, what is the impact of digital transformation, information technology. We also understood data analytics is all about computer-assisted audit techniques or tools. Most of you would also be using data analytics in your own way. We'll look at some more advanced and usage of data analytics. And we know that data analytics could be the key differentiators for professionals with the domain knowledge and subject matter expertise. So thank you very much. This concludes the first part of the presentation. In the second part, we'll get into much more details into how data analytics could be practically used. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you in the next presentation.